Today the date is 27 and day is Monday and we are in week 4. Yesterday we have started our lesson in unit 3, changing materials. The name of the lesson was heating and cooling, which is on page number 32 and 33 of your learner's book. So in this lesson, we have learned that materials changed when they are heated and cooled. In this lesson, we have studied some of the vocabulary words that are super easy: heat, melt, liquid, ice, hot, cool, solid. So you can write them in your notebook and you can memorize them as well. So let's talk about materials change. We have studied in lesson 1 that the materials, they are changed. They change their shape. And how they change their shape: when we apply force on the materials, they change their shape. And how can we apply force on them? We can bend them, we can twist them, we can stretch them, or we can squash them. In all these process, what we are doing with the materials, we are applying force. And those materials that are soft, they change their shape. We can bend them. You can see in the picture, the girl is bending the rod, twisting the towel, stretching and squashing. We can bend some materials using hands. Yes, as we have studied that the soft materials, they can change their shape easily by bending them with our hands. But there are some materials that are hard. We cannot bend them or we cannot change their shape with the help of hands. So we need tools to bend them. So here are some of the elastic materials. What are elastic materials? Those materials that have elasticity and we can easily stretch them. You can see these are the materials that have elasticity and we can stretch them easily. Rubber band is stretch. Look, rubber band has elasticity, so we can stretch them easily. So here you can see and find out which things are elastic. So yesterday we have studied that some of the materials in the kitchen, when we heat them, especially the edible things, means the things that we can eat, when we heat them, they change their shapes. They change their shape. Examples are toast, or you can say bread in the toaster, egg, water in the kettle, food, chocolate, pancakes, and all of these things, they change their shape when we heat them. So today we are going to continue with this lesson. We are going to do an activity which is in your book, activity 3.4. For this thing, we need different foods, cling film or metal foil, aluminum foil you can say, and a stopwatch. Warming foods. First, we were putting the foods on the heating or direct fire to heat them with the oven. But now what we are going to do, we are going to use our hands to heat them. Wrap up a piece of chocolate, hold it in your hand for 2 minutes. What do you notice? Here you can see what we have to do. We have to hold the chocolate in our hand for 2 seconds, and we can see that if it is solid, it will start to melt. It will start to melt. Why it is so? Because the chocolate is melting. How it is melting? With the help or with the heat of our body. When you catch something in your hand, if your body is hot, it starts melting. And what are those things? Those are also edible things. You can see. Does it makes a difference if you hold it for a longer? Yes, right? Yes, it will. Yes, it will change its shape. Try this with other foods. Compare what happens with the foods in their pattern. So here on the table, you can see we have flour, we have carrot, we have potato, we have peanut butter, we have butter, and we have rice. So as you know that every material has its different properties. Some of the materials they melt easily, and some of the materials they are hard and they cannot melt easily. So you can try this in the home also. You can take some of these things and try to hold them in your hands for 2 to 3 minutes and then check whether it is changing its shape, whether it is melting or not. Then we are going to study about candles. When a candle burns, the hot flame begins to melt the wax. Everyone know that candles are made of wax. Candles are made of wax. So when we put flame on the candle, what happens? The inner part or the wax which is near the wick, it starts melting. It starts melting. But the lower part where there is no heat, what happens? It remains as it is till the flame melts the inner part or the part of the candle that is near to the flame and reaches the down part, then it melts it also. So the candle is melted with the help of heat. Without the heat, a candle is not melting. The wax is not melting. It is solid wax. But where there is flame, there is heat, wax turns into liquid. You can see here like a water, liquid material. It is liquid wax. So when you heat something, it change its shapes. Most of those things, if they are solid, they turn liquid and they change their shapes. You can see the example of candle where there is flame. Because of flame, heat is produced and wax is turning into liquid. But the other part where there is no flame or there is no heat, it will remain solid wax. Okay, boys, the last part, you can cool materials. A liquid will change to a solid if it is cooled to a low enough temperature. If water is put into the freezer, it changes to ice. You know that, boys, water has three phases: solid, liquid, and gas. So when water is in liquid form, but when you are going to put it in the freezer, it will change its shape and it will turn into solid, that is ice. So like water, there are other things also. If you put them in the freezer, they turn into solid, they turn hard, they turn into solid, and they remain their shape like that. Okay, they change their shape from liquid to solid and then they maintain their shape in the freezer. Why? Because there is there is too much cool air that is turning the liquid into solid. that is turning liquid into solid. You can see the example of water. When you put water in something, it is in liquid form. It is liquid. When you let it sit in the freezer for 1 hour or more than 1 hour, what happens? A liquid change into solid. Water is changed into ice. You can use that ice in your drinks and other purposes. Even the, you can say, the food. Sometimes when we have a lot of food, what we do, the extra food, after eating, we put them in the fridge. Not sometimes, mostly we put them in the fridge. Why we put them in the fridge? Because in the fridge or in the freezer, they cool down, they turn most of them, they change their shape and they remain as it is. If we put them outside, what will happen? They will get heat and they will be damaged. But when we are putting them in the freezer, the liquid will change into solid and it will remain as it is. It will remain safe. But some of the things there are, if you put them in the freezer, they will be destroyed. So it depends on different materials. So now we are going to do a filling the blanks for this chapter. This will help you in your revision. So kindly open your science notebooks and write it with me. Today the date is 27 and day is Monday, and our topic is heating and cooling. Number 1, change from solid to liquid is called melt or melting. Anything that has specific shape is solid. Anything that is in fridge is cool. Water in freezer change into ice. Anything that has volume but no shape is liquid. You know that the liquid has volume, but it does not have any shape. If you are going to put liquid in the container, it is going to take the shape of the container. So we are going to say that liquid has no shape, whereas solid has a shape, specific shape, like pencil, ruler, chair, table. All of these are solids.